Hello and welcome to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. My name is Mehmet, and in each episode, as you know, I cover different topics from emerging technology, cybersecurity, digital transformation, AI, and also I focus on startups and entrepreneurships. And today, I think I found the match between both because I have with me Sejal today. First of all, thank you very much for being with us today on the show. Can you just tell us a bit about yourself and about your company and what you have been up to?
Sure. Mehmet, thank you again so much for having me. My name is Sejal Lakhani. I am the CEO of TechWerxe, which is a managed service provider. So we are the company that becomes the IT department for small and medium businesses. We also focus hugely on cybersecurity. So we have a huge cybersecurity arm, and we've been lucky enough where we've actually been named the top cybersecurity company in New Jersey. And we have a cloud platform. So we've built our own cloud to keep everything sort of, combined in one little chain. And we basically work with small and medium businesses, a lot of them who have compliances, a lot of them who have a lot of personal identification, et cetera. So that's what we specialize in.
That's great to know about this. And actually, when I was preparing Sejal for today's episode, I found something which is caught my eye. So I understood that you entered into the IT industry, from a different place. So how, like, how was the learning curve? Because everyone thinks that IT is hard and it's not for everyone. So how was your experience?
Yeah, so I did. So I'll give you a little more background. So, I actually was in the banking world. So I worked at Merrill Lynch, I worked at Deutsche Bank, I worked at Morgan Stanley. I went from the trading floor through various countries, through various desks, and I did a lot of different things. In 2012, I decided that I was going to quit my job and sort of just be at home. Have a little bit of time. I have two young boys that were like, I don't know, 3 and 1 at the time. So I decided I was going to quit my job and sort of stay at home. My husband, who had started this company, TechWerxe, in 2008. And so after about 3 months of being a stay-at-home mom, I was like, I got to do something. He's like, come work with me. And you know what I really found is that businesses, small and medium businesses, any business, CEOs don't speak Techinese. They speak English. They want to know how something is going to impact their bottom line, how something's going to affect them on a day in, day out, how they're going to take care of something that they're thinking about every night, that's keeping them up every night. And to do that, you actually can't speak technical. So I know enough to be dangerous, but from a technical standpoint, I have an amazing team that works for me, both for TechWerxe and for CloudWerxe, which is my cloud platform.
Well, that makes sense because I work in technology. I work in technology consultancy, and I still do this now by my own. And I'm a big believer that actually, technology should be translated into business outcomes. So this is why,
Exactly.
yeah. So this is why that completely makes sense. And but like it's a very good move. I would say it's a courageous move. So I understood that your company you focus on small medium businesses, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
so the question is, um, from trends perspective, right? So are you seeing SMBs understanding more and more the importance of having someone to give them hands to, to have their services up and running, to have their cybersecurity taken care of? Because at some stage, people they thought, okay, we can have kind of what is called of shadow IT, like maybe there's one guy who works in HR and he can take care of that.
Exactly.
How do you see this is changing now?
So, Mehmet, let's. I'm going to take a step back for a second.
Sure.
Cybersecurity is a huge buzzword, right? You can't turn on the news without hearing something about a hacking or a breach or bad actors. So it's become a buzzword. Um, Large businesses, and I think you covered this in an episode in recently in the past, if I remember. Large businesses now can say this is the most important thing. Cybersecurity is the most important thing.
Yes.
But what small and medium businesses hear when they hear cybersecurity, all they see is dollar signs. How much is it going to cost me? And I am a small and medium, I'm a small business owner. I'm not even a medium business. I'm a small business owner. And I can understand when we're looking at certain things, the way those words sound and the dollar signs that pop out, and you're just scared. You get scared. So what ends up happening is any business owner is going to look at it and go, you know what? I'm a small business owner, not me. It's not going to happen to me. It'll happen to everybody else. It's not going to happen to me. What I hear from a lot of business owners is, Sejal, we don't see it happen to a lot of small businesses. When you turn on the news, you don't hear about it. And I go, you don't hear about it because those businesses are out of business. Because if Target gets breached, they have $1 million as couch cushion change. But if a small business gets breached or a medium business gets breached, they can't afford to lose $1 million. I think that people are starting to understand the value and the need. It's no longer a luxury to have a true IT company. Look, it's not just about, oh, yes, yes, like you said, that HR guy that shadows it, or it's like, well, my CFO's daughter's boyfriend kind of does it a little bit, so he comes in and does it. If you're not constantly monitoring, so you need to have monitoring, you need to have the right tools in place, the right tech stack. It has to be monitored properly. The person that's monitoring it has to be able to read it appropriately, execute on the actions, and your people need to be trained. So if you don't have all of those aspects covered, then you don't have a true thing. So any of the money that you're actually spending is kind of wasted. So we see right now that small and medium businesses are starting to say, yes, we need it. We understand the importance of it, but oh my gosh, Sejal, it's so expensive. And that's honestly why we started the company several years ago, not just around cybersecurity, but over a decade ago, more than a decade ago now, 15 years, we started the company because we were trying to provide enterprise level solutions at an affordable cost for small and medium businesses. So when we do certain things like cybersecurity, et cetera, small businesses, we all need to understand that it's extremely integral for them to have even more security in place, even more tools in place, because they're the ones that are easy for breachers to hack, for the bad actors to go after. So I think we're getting there, but we're not close yet. I mean, I listened to your episode from a couple weeks ago, and or last week, and really, it's impressive because for small and medium businesses, it's a money thing. It's how much money are you going to make me spend, and that's we get into the discussion of, well, how much money can you afford to lose if you get breached, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just money for SMBs, it's their reputation. For anybody, it's their reputation, but for SMBs, imagine telling your clients that you were breached. Imagine being an accounting firm or manufacturing company or anybody with any, confidential information, intellectual property. It becomes a big problem. So we're starting to get there, but there is still that barrier that it won't happen to me. It costs too much money. Do I really need it? Can I just go bare bones? Can I have somebody kind of give me some of it? What if I don't really put training on it? I just kind of put it there. We don't monitor it. It doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, we're speaking the same language. I remember like a couple of years back, there was a something in the news about actually a service provider somewhere in Europe, and they were hit by a ransomware, and then it's a web hosting company. I just remembered. Yeah, it was a web hosting company, and they had to come a couple of weeks later and say to their customers, "Sorry, guys, we are out of business." And they were like a small, actually. They are not like that. They are not like GoDaddy or Namecheap or
Right.
something like this. And the problem is, it's like, and this is, I'm hoping by repeating this again, and you said now, Sejal, like I'm repeating this almost on every episode where I have someone who is expert in cybersecurity, and maybe you are bored, but my mission is to get this message. It's not like should I have a health insurance or not. Like it's not the same thing. It's something you have to have there. Now, like if we want to continue from like cybersecurity perspective before we jump on something else, you mentioned data breach, right? And we know about ransomware as well. So where do you see, like other threats coming in? Like what could be other threats in that space that customers need to focus on? Because again, unfortunately, in cybersecurity and in technology in general, when we repeat the same things again and again, people they think it's just a hype, right? But we know that
It's not
ransomware
true.
is it's not,
Yes.
and we know data breaches. So what other things you usually advise your customers to take care of as well?
Look, we're in a whole different ballgame now. Okay. So we went from everyone being in an office, right? We had firewalls around our office. We were like in a secure little building, and it wasn't so hard. Now we've got people working not just from their homes, but from all over the country, all over the world. And I know everyone's saying, oh my gosh, Sejal, people were doing that from before. But small and medium businesses weren't doing it as much. Now it's easier to hire somebody in Dallas, in Florida, in Nashville, because it doesn't matter. We don't have an office to go to, right? So there are a couple things. One is, let's talk about ransomware for 1 second. First of all, you shouldn't ever pay ransomware, right? That's a known thing. I think everybody knows that. But do you know that most people, 1 out of 4 people that pay, don't actually get their data back? Guys, the bad actors are not reputable people, right? We're not looking at a reputable team, business people to do business with here. So we all think about it like, oh, if we get ransomware, do we just have to pay? I need SMBs to really focus on one thing: reputational risk. If they don't give your data back, and by the way, even if they do give your data back, you don't know if they have another copy. We have no idea what happens, right? So as an SMB owner, you need to think, what is my data worth? And what is the worth of my client's data, and keeping all of that secure? And the biggest thing that I talk to people about now, because now we've got AI, and we've got, all of these doors opening with AI, and all of these open sort of ports, ways of getting into something. We are extremely busy as a society. We are multitasking on everything. We're not paying as much attention. Everything is automated. So now we all talk about multi-factor authentication, where you put in your password, then you get a code, and then you put in the code. We're not even paying attention anymore. We're just so used to putting everything in. We're like, authenticate, authenticate, authenticate. We're not paying attention. So here's what I would say. Number one is take a breath, okay? We need to really think about what we're doing and what we're clicking on, because this can be life-altering. You lose your data, you lose your client's data, it can be life-altering. But number two is, I know my clients, not my clients, but the CEOs of my clients always hate this. And by the way, I hate it too. So when my team tells me I have to do this, I'm like, come on, it takes an extra second. Guys, we need to look at access control. Who has access to what and how much access, and do they need it? So doing 0-day threats and 0-day policies for most of everything that you have, and I know it's a bit of a pain in the bum, and I get it, but it's worth it. It's worth it. Don't you turn on your security alarm when you leave the house? That means when you come back in, you got to take that extra second and put in the code. It's the same thing. You lock the door for your cars, I hope. You have to unlock them. It is the same thing. Zero threat policies allow us to really, truly understand who needs access to what and who's trying to get into something that they shouldn't be getting into. It is a technology stack. One item is like bulletproof glass. The bullet's going to pierce the first layer, the second layer, going to, kind of skim through the third layer and sort of hit the fourth layer, but the fifth, sixth, and seventh will be untouched. It's the same thing with cybersecurity. You've got to have a tech stack, because they can get through layer 1 through 4, 5, but you've got to have additional layers there to stop them. So zero threat is one of them. For those of you working from home, VPN, right? I know these sounds, like, make sure that you're utilizing a VPN. Segregated Wi-Fis. I can't tell you how many people in my own home, Mehmet, I have 4 Wi-Fis. One for guests that come into my home, one for my kids, because gosh, I never know what they're clicking on and what links they're going on. One for my personal devices, and because I own an IT cybersecurity firm and I have a work device, I have one for that. Don't hop onto a Starbucks Wi-Fi. We have everybody working from everywhere right now, and people are doing all sorts of things that we would never allow them to do before. So those are a couple of the items that I would say need to be done. But you really need a cohesive plan with an IT company that can execute on it. And you've got to put it all together, because every company's different. We have healthcare clients that we treat a bit differently than our manufacturing clients. We have clients that do stuff for the DoD. We have clients that are in professional services, accounting services, et cetera, marketing services. They're all a little bit different. Most of the same tech stack, but how we handle them is different, and you need that.
And actually, in my opinion, like, customers should be thankful and grateful for having service providers like yourself, because if they wanted to handle this by themselves, like, it's close to impossible, I would say.
It is close to impossible. It is.
Yeah. Yeah,
Unless you have a
because
lot of money now. If you don't, and people and training, it is really hard to keep on top of it.
it's not only the money, Sejal, it's also, just to give, people, because I focus too much also on SMBs, and startups as well. Guys, if I tell you how many agents a cybersecurity engineer in a security operation center, SOC,
Yeah,
handles, like you'll be mind blown, right? So
it's
this is why,
insane.
yeah, so this is why it's so important. And I just had a discussion earlier this morning with another friend, and we are saying like SMBs in any country, in any economy, they are the backbone of that economy.
Yes,
And the reason I repeat how important SMB is to have proper security managed by someone is because you can, and I'm not saying this to scare you guys by any mean. And, like here we are on a show, we are not into a sales pitch or anything. We are just trying to share awareness.
and inform.
Exactly. Think in a simple way. If imagine you have, I don't know if you use an Apple device or an Android device, and you have all your photos or your life goes, how do you feel about it, right? Like your whole life can be deleted and you cannot get it back. I mean, right? From photos perspective.
Yeah,
So think about it. All your CRM, ERPs, I don't know, all your files, all your contracts, all your, I don't know, like purchase orders, they disappear. They are encrypted, deleted, or much worse, are in the
sold.
hands of the bad guys who can come to you and say, hey, if you don't pay us, we're gonna put this into somewhere, we're gonna sell it to someone.
Yep.
So this is very important. Now, another aspect you touch on now is AI. And I want to ask you, how do you
Good.
see not only the AI adoption? I mean, we have a lot of technologies that are adopted in enterprise, let's say, but I see personally that SMBs deserve that as well. Like AI is one of them.
Yes.
Data analytics is one of them. Are you seeing, from your interaction with clients that they want also to adopt these technologies as well?
Oh, I see so many of my colleagues. So I'm part of an organization called Entrepreneurs Organization. It
Hmm.
is all business owners, and that you have to be a business owner or founder um, in the organization to be in the organization. And I can tell you, people are using it for all sorts of things, from marketing to blogs to writing policies to writing contracts to obviously it's a 70%, 80%. But please, I think one of the things that we need to realize is AI is not always factual. We've got to still verify. Um, but it's been incredible. It has helped some of my colleagues and some of my clients to a degree where they're taking things that would take, let's say, 40 hours a week, 30 hours a week, and have knocked it down to 2 hours a week. Right? It's incredible.
Yeah, that's completely right, Cecil. Now, that's good to know that there's an adoption over
Oh,
there.
yes.
Um, any
Can
specific?
can I just
Yeah,
say
please.
one thing about that
Sure.
adoption? Here's the thing, right? So again, because it's such a new technology, and I assure you the bad actors are way ahead of us. They already know how to use that technology to get into our stuff. But because it's a new technology, people are unsure how to utilize it. So the adoption is there, but the processes and the policies around it are not. And that's another big thing. So think about this for 1 second, right? You want to write an insurance policy for somebody.
Right.
And it's something, blah, blah. So you put in, right? Right? The biggest thing about AI is you got to have the right prompts. You put in all this information, and some of it's confidential information. You don't even know where it's being stored. You don't know where it's going. You don't know what they're doing with it. So the education around AI, you still need policies around what you're going to do with that and what you're not. So that's the biggest thing for all companies, small, medium, and large. But small and medium businesses, because they're trying to truly be more efficient and save time and save money, they're doing certain things that we don't have an answer to yet on how it's going to affect them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Uh, Now I want to pivot a little bit from the IT perspective. Actually, it's still related to IT. And this is out of curiosity, honestly. Like you come from, you told me, from financial background, right?
Yeah.
And I'm telling this now. I'm a little bit kind of talking to consultants, like myself who want to speak a finance language about an IT solution? What is your advice for them?
Can you unpack that a little more for me? What do you mean a finance language? Like how to actually associate money with the different solutions and like that?
Yeah,
Or
yes, yes. So
yeah.
and the reason I'm asking this question because I want everyone to understand to tie, whatever feature or
Yeah.
anything to some money. If you can like
Well,
put some lights on this.
so I mean, I do it all the time, right? So when we talk about a business being shut down, right? When I'm talking to the CEO and they're like, "Well, we were breached and we were shut down." You just said that that other company was shut down for like 4 or 5 days or something. We had a service provider here that was shut down for 5 days. And they're like, "Well, we were shut down for 5 days. So yeah, we lost this many orders or we couldn't do this." No problem. But what about all the other money? What about the employees that you're paying that are not working? What about the rent? What about the opportunity cost? What about the electricity? What about all of these other costs that go into it, right? When we're talking about data and we're talking about how long, so for most companies, they do sales. Our CRM is our gold mine. It is everything that we have on how we're going to get clients, right?
Yeah,
If somebody took that CRM away, how many years, how many people, how many salespeople did you pay for it? How many years did it take you to get it? How many phone calls did you make to those people? How many marketing messages did you send? How much time, how much energy, how many blog posts? Everything goes into it. So when people are looking at data breaches, they're like, well, we have to pay ransomware of $1 million. It cost me $1 million. No, cost you $1 million, plus your insurance, plus the lawyers, plus all the downtime, plus the employee cost, plus any opportunity cost. And by the way, what do you think your reputation is worth?
100%. And any regulations related cost as well.
Oh, all the loss of clients or regulations from compliance are a whole different thing. I mean, that's just, I mean, there's a company that I'm aware of that used to supply to the DoD and small company, 8 people.
Mm-hmm.
Without going into too much detail, they didn't have the right backup way of securing data. It was found out. I'm talking $1 billion contracts. Done.
Yeah,
Done. It's you're not the only company that does what you do. They will find another person that is
100%.
secure.
100%. 100%. Um, Also, while I was preparing for the episode, one thing like also caught my eyes. Like, um, you have never lost a single client, and I know how much, especially in service provider space, it's how much is important to keep clients happy and how demanding they can be. How did you manage this? What was your secret sauce? Let's say.
So we've never been fired. So we have lost, unfortunately, recently, or fortunately for our clients, we're very good at scaling our clients. We have actually lost 3 clients to private equity firms this last year. Um, the what you read was so my husband passed away in 2019. He was the one who started the business. I worked in the business from 2014 onwards. I became CEO of the business in 2015. And when my husband passed away, he was the main IT person, and we just established that I have zero IT background.
Yeah.
So when we went through everything, we lost 0 clients, and we still to this day we have fired clients and we've lost clients to PE firms. Um, we lost 1 client who did leave us and then came back to us, or they didn't fully leave. They're like, we're leaving. And then they were like, you know what? We have nowhere to go. We want to stay with you. And the reason for that is we manage expectations. Number 1 is my team is incredible. My team before when my husband was alive and currently is incredible. I am the dumbest person in the room. My team is not just smart, but they have the ability to truly own and make decisions. So that's number 1. Number 2 is we manage expectations. We are not perfect. We are not
Hmm.
perfect. But if something goes wrong, I will take responsibility. Every CEO has my cell phone number. They will call me. I will talk to them. I will go into it with them. I will take responsibility if something goes wrong, and we will fix it. We're also a known entity, meaning we're flat rate. So a lot of what you see with companies is they're like, we don't call our IT person because we have to pay, for every hour. We only have 8 hours a month, and we don't do that.
Yeah.
We just want to do it all. You call us 1,000 times, you can call us 0. Like we just want to go in and do it all for you without you worrying. Because if you're going to wait on a little issue, Every day that little issue gets bigger, 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 and now everyone's screwed. um, so we really have great communication. We have great management of expectations. We have an amazing team, and Mehmet, we're constantly training and getting ahead of stuff. We're investing the time and the money to make sure that we know. Like, we're talking about AI. I'm on an AI panel, I think, in 2 weeks again. We've created a group. We've got an entire group to talk about security around AI and what do we need to do and how do we get ahead of it? And do we know all the answers? Absolutely not. Nobody knows all the answers,
Right.
but we're trying. We're trying.
That's really inspiring, and honestly, being someone who work on customer seat and someone who work on vendor seat, like what you did is fantastic, I believe, because rarely you find the people who have this mindset of, customer centricity, number one.
Yes.
Keep up to date with all the trends and what's happening, which is, by the way, it's not an easy task.
No, it's
people
not.
people ask me sometimes, and I share it multiple times how I do it, and it's not easy, guys. I tell them I have to grab all this information on daily basis, and I specified a specific, I have a specific time frame for me to go and read, watch a couple of videos, so I keep. And of course, now with the age of AI, I have to, another task came to me. I need to see which one is true, which one is might be like completely a false one,
Right.
which not an easy one.
And it
Completely,
changes. And it changes
hundred
daily.
percent,
You read, something is X equals Y today, and tomorrow they're like, "Fuck, X equals Y was so like old." It's like, so it's a lot. It's a lot.
100%. Now, you've been like, really, as I said, a model, I would say, especially a female leader in the tech industry, and I'm sure you have faced a lot of challenges. Like, how did you overcome this, and what is your advice for fellow women who are, dreaming to have a leadership in tech? Maybe they thinking about entering the tech market. What you can tell them?
So here's what I'm going to say for all of the women that are out there. Um, when we start saying, I can't do it because I'm a woman, or it didn't happen because I'm a woman, it's exactly what's stopping us. When we were 2 years old, or second grade, I should say, if nobody walked in and said, oh my God, girls, you should do STEM as well, we would never know that we can't do STEM. So let's
Right.
take a different mindset, right? For the women that are out there, we actually have a better position. We're vulnerable. We're empathetic. We have the ability to do things that men don't have the ability to do. Truly, men and women are two totally different people, not just biologically, but mentally, physically, just the way we think. Use it to your advantage. There's nothing that says women can't do it. When I was at Deutsche Bank, Mehmet, I worked at Deutsche Bank. I was doing projects, etc. And I ended up truly sort of diving in, and I was given the opportunity. I had both my kids at Deutsche Bank, and I then worked from home 2 days a week at Deutsche Bank. 2 days a week, I work from home. And I'm talking about in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, by the way. Nobody works from home, not from a bank then. We have the ability to do what we want to do as long as we think about it that way. So for all the women that are out there are challenges. Don't get me wrong. I just had a gentleman last night tell me, hey, I don't meet with women alone at all. And, there was this guy, and I thought he would be a great client. There are going to be challenges, but there's a lot of other things that are not challenges. So focus on those and continue working towards it. There's no reason that we can't do anything and everything. There's no reason. I'm a mother of 2 boys. I just mentioned briefly, I'm a widow. My husband passed away 4 years ago, and I have 5 companies. So there's no reason we can't do it. It's only when we start off with the reason, and no more excuses. I didn't get it because I'm a woman. The one other thing I want to say, because this is very important for women, is fix the crown on the woman next to you. Women tend to work against each other where men tend to work together. And when we're working against each other, none of us gets ahead. And so that's the other piece I would say.
Yeah, great. But I still have one question, if you don't
Of
mind, for
course.
for you. before we end up. So you've been like a board member of Entrepreneurs Organization and Connect for Business Exchange. What are some, insights can you share with us on the current entrepreneurial landscape?
Oh, wow. That's not a little question.
I'm
um,
sorry.
wow. Uh, so so here's what I'll say. I have found that people have become serial entrepreneurs. People
Hmm.
across the ages, younger and older. Older ones are selling businesses, and then they're not just sitting there selling them and doing nothing. They're starting another project, another passion project, another charity, another business. Um, entrepreneur Entrepreneurs breed entrepreneurs. And what's happening is as you start to hang out with everybody, you're starting to see serial entrepreneurs, and people are in all sorts of verticals. I have a real estate agency, I have a liquor store, I have, a cloud platform company, a cybersecurity company, a managed service provider company. So we've all of these things that we're doing. And the biggest thing I would say is I see more and more entrepreneurs learning from each other, not just from their own vertical, Mehmet. They're not just going and saying, I'm an IT company. Let me just go into other IT masterminds and really learn that. But
Hmm.
they're going to all sorts of, I learned so much from verticals that are so far out of anything that I would even understand. So that's number one. That's number two, I would say. Number two is we've become global. So, really talking to entrepreneurs across the world, talking to people and how they're doing things, utilizing different tools, utilizing automation, utilizing people from various countries, utilizing not just actual people around the world because of the skill sets they possess, but
Hmm.
bringing in everything else that goes along with it to make that company as unique as possible.
Well, that's really very, very, I would say, helpful, and I agree with you, especially on of course, on both points. But the second one makes a lot of sense because the world is more connected, and we should be global, and we are seeing this actually across the board everywhere. And
Yeah,
there's no difference now because back in the days, like everyone's saying, hey, like U.S. market is different than Europe
right.
market is different from like Middle East market. Uh, of course, there will be some cultural aspects like this is, but it's
Of
related more to
course.
the way how you operate your sales and marketing, right? But when
Yep.
it comes on, I mean, the business itself, I mean, the entrepreneurial part of it, it's completely, I would say now, global and universal. I can claim this.
But
Um,
but the other part of it,
Tell me.
Mehmet, is that we can learn so much, right? How do we make something in the US, in New Jersey? How do I make my IT? I met a guy in Zurich that runs a cloud platform the way I do. Oh, no,
Hmm.
not the way I do, better than I do. And I was able to pick up pieces from that and implement them here. There's nobody else here
Wonderful.
doing that.
Wonderful.
So
Wonderful.
I think it's really important. And to go back to the old adage, it's not what you know, it's who you know. It truly is about who you know and utilizing
Networking.
those connections and building the most amazing network for you. I have incredible networks for everything.
That's like and yeah, I have no problem in saying this, on the episode because I mentioned in one of the episodes that I did this mistake, when I was younger, and this is my advice for young generation, especially if you are planning to have your own business. And by the way, I think the future is more into entrepreneurship. Yeah, I'm not
Yes.
saying like I'm not saying corporate world will demolish and finish. No, of course, no. We will still have these big companies, but I'm a big believer that we will see more entrepreneurs. We'll see more solopreneurs. Actually, this is
Yes.
my own view and my advice because I figured this out a little bit late, but it's good that I figured it out. Is network, 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 network. Like I cannot keep saying this enough.
Yes. Yes.
Before we come to close, Sejal, like I have a famous question that I ask at the end nowadays. What is the question that you wished I asked you?
Oh, wow. I didn't hear that question on the thing. Is I okay?
This is
Is
a
that
new, probably this is on
wow?
the new
Um,
episodes. Yeah.
what is the question? So one of the things that I love to share my experience on my failures. I have failed a lot
Hmm.
over and over again because I think it's, we all talk about how things are amazing and we talked about how my company hasn't lost a client and how I've done this and how I've done that. I really think one of the questions that I would have wished was, tell me about your failures, because I think that's as important or maybe more important than anything I've done well. And what I'd like to say is, especially as entrepreneurs in the corporate world, when you fail, you kind of get in trouble by your boss, and then you might get a write up, or maybe you're fired, or nothing happens, a slap on the hand. When you're an entrepreneur, a failure could mean the loss of hundreds, thousands, millions of dollars. It could mean the loss of clients. It could mean the loss of reputation. It could mean bankruptcy. It could mean changing your entire life and it affecting your
Right.
livelihood. um, Failures are going to happen. And if you're not failing, then you're not doing enough. Because if you're not going to fail, then you're really just not taking enough risk to move your business and yourself forward. So what I would share with your audience is, don't be scared and don't wait for everything to be perfect before you do it. It will never be perfect. That's why you're an entrepreneur, because you
Right.
want everything to be perfect and it'll never be there. So start to take the first step so you can figure out after that first step what the next step is. And the next thing is to appreciate what you've done. I appreciate my failures. I've appreciated the mistakes I've made, and I've appreciated the people that have helped me out of my mistakes. And the last thing I would say is ask for help. We don't, my father's generation did not ask for help. Everything was done on their own. Let's not
Right.
be that generation. Let's ask for help because people are more than willing to help. So there you go.
Uh, Great, and I'm happy you shared this, because I always, anyone who asks me, and I mentioned even here on the podcast many times, in my dictionary there is nothing called failure. There is learning, right?
Yes,
Because you fall down, you stand up again, and that
exactly.
famous quote. If I'm not mistaken, it was. I'm not sure if it's not his. I'm sorry, but I remember that it's Denzel Washington. Like, if you don't fail, you're not even trying. There are a
Yep.
lot of also like quotes like this, and that's true. Like, because if like, this is how, when we were kids, this is how we learned how to walk. This is how we learned to
Exactly.
right. Yeah. So you need to try, and this is, like, I would say, it's a nature, right? So this is how we actually succeed in things, and especially I'm talking here about people who thinks to go into an entrepreneurial journey or tech specifically, because people, they are afraid, they hesitate too much.
Yes.
No, 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 don't hesitate. What's okay? So don't ask what would happen if this happens. Ask what will happen if I don't do this. Like, I think,
Exactly.
yeah. So this is the mindset. Like, I was lucky enough to learn it again late, but again, like, there's nothing called late, even in this one. And I'm
Yep.
really glad you shared this. Because we are in a time that I believe we need to give back our experiences. And as you said, don't hesitate. And I'm saying this to the audience, don't hesitate to reach out. And this is why at the end of each episode, I'm saying, if you have questions, feedbacks, you want to discuss something even you didn't agree with me, please reach out. Like, let's talk, let's have a discussion. Well, Sejal, like, really, I enjoyed the discussion today. It's a very, I would say, one of my best episodes ever. I can claim this,
Thank
because
you.
we covered a lot, from technical aspects, cybersecurity, and we talked about entrepreneurship. And this is really the best of the best. This is why the CTO show exists, actually. Pe- and people ask me why it's called CTO show. Like, it's too much technical. I say, but remember, a CTO is associated with tech, yes. A CTO is associated with startups and entrepreneurship, and a CTO is a guy who talks business and technology at the same time. So I think we covered all this today. Yeah, which is great, great. Thank you very much. And as we are coming to the end of the show, for everyone who's listening to us, if it's your first time that you tune in, please subscribe to the podcast. We are trying always to get the best of the best on the show. And also, please tell your friends, your colleague, your family about the show. You will not regret it, and they will not regret it. I guarantee you this. And I was mentioning a few minutes ago, if you have any questions, feedback, reach out to me. If you want to be a guest on the show, wherever you are in the world. I have guests from the US, I have guests from New Zealand. The other day I had a guy, I think in Indonesia. So wherever you are, if you think you have something that is related to our theme, don't hesitate, reach out to me. I would be more than happy to discuss this. Thank you very much. And until we meet in the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you.